Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at an Earthrune Unlimited deck. This one in particular runs Path of Purgatory, although I'll get this out of the way right now and say it's really not that handy, to be honest. Path of Purgatory isn't that great in this deck. I mean, it makes sense on why I can see it being ran, since Earthrune does have some decent synergy with Path to Purgatory overall, but to be honest, most of the time I found my games were just much better when I focused on the Earthrune side of the deck and left Path to Purgatory on the back end, hoping maybe it could take advantage of it later on, but I never had a match that was long enough to really need to worry about it. So we're going to get right into this and check it out. So the first game is going to be up against a Dragon. The Rowan himself, after all. I wasn't sure how I wanted to go about this deck, as I don't play a lot of Earthrune to begin with, so not having a lot of experience in that area really doesn't help me. Even when Earthrune was extremely popular back with rats, I didn't play it as much as, say, something like Daria that I played the absolute crap out of back then. But this deck still is reasonably solid, with combos like Witch's Cauldron and Starways never really get any better. I mean, double draw, free play point, can't really go wrong. Plus it's a very easy turn 1 setup, so that's always nice. We also have Silent Laboratory. So this deck is really good at kind of building up those Earth Sigils. I find it's actually a lot better than most of the rotation Earthrune decks used to be, with as far as Golem goes. The only real disadvantage I've got is I can't easily deal with that 1-2 without wasting cards that I just don't want to waste yet. And since it's not dealing anything substantial, I've been kind of ignoring it. I don't believe its effect was super critical to me. It randomly discards a card and then draws a card, so it actually wasn't as big a worry to me as I would initially think. So I decided to, of course, favour the draw there, since again they put out a couple of weaker cards. It also was one of the first times I've seen a Path to Purgatory Dragon in a very long time. It's definitely not something I'd seen a lot, but I can tell why they were aiming for this. They wanted to go for that Path to Purgatory discard, but once you eliminate that, there's really not a lot left for them. And Dwarf Alchemist was really just a way to try and get some more Earth Sigil cards that synergize well. And now they're really just discarding cards for no reason on me. So it really was no issue at all to just wait this out as much as I wanted. And using something like Professor of Taboos was pretty optimal for this match. Since of course we can just start summoning zombies off these. And because they are in that top decking phase where they really aren't doing anything much more than that, it's definitely an interesting deck and one I wouldn't mind probably checking out. A full-on discard dragon PTP. Might have to try and find a list, as it does definitely intrigue me. But just because the deck does look intriguing doesn't always mean it is perfect, and our next matchup actually is going to be Blood. This is probably one of the least intriguing decks out there normally, since Bloodcraft does only have so many variants, and those variants are pretty common knowledge to most players, since they were either meta at some point or very popular overall, so it's really not a surprise when you see Blood 90% of the time, I would say. There's that odd 10% that pops up occasionally that's like, hey, that's a weird deck, but not really threatening. So on the bright side, it makes nearly every Blood matchup reasonably predictable as far as plays. This one in particular looks to be going for the ping route, since they're running Urias. Not an uncommon tech in a lot of Blood decks, but definitely not usually ran in Dark Feast Bat decks typically. And seeing Cursed Brown definitely leads me to believe they're playing something completely different. Now getting to take advantage of course, the Magic Illusionist. I'm taking a couple damage because I'm really not worried about that. Really no issue taking that 2 damage. So this reminds me of the old Aggro-Bat decks. Very traditional Aggro-Bats, which were some of my favourite decks to play. It's honestly one of the best ways to work with this deck, I think. It's just a pity that overall that deck's a little slow compared to what it used to be, and there's a lot more ways to deal with low cost followers. It used to be hard to remove everything in single goes, but now it's not really as much trouble. And because that is an Earth Sigil, that actually works really well with Magic Illusionist, whether they play something or not. But they did anyway, so there's a free body. But of course, now it's our turn, and looking at this, best card to play is Professor of Taboos, trade into everything we want, and basically win the game at that point. We're only going to leave up a 1-1, and that's really no threat to me. Very hard for aggro bats to wipe these out, and very hard to get a win from this position. It's not impossible or unheard of, it's just a much more difficult situation. So, a pretty easy trade-off. Maintaining only 5 health though, right now, put me in a rough spot. Luckily for us, that draw must have been pretty lackluster for them to concede, but I do feel like they were starting to burn through most of their decent damage, so no surprise. So like I mentioned at the start of the video, why PTP doesn't tend to take much of a role, that's really just the Earth Sigil combinations that work really well, and Professor of Taboos is still a really solid card. Being able to destroy and profit is always a good advantage to have. Also, I did find a Caladimus Curse come in handy more often than not in a lot of matches, since it was very easy low cost removal and very good high cost removal, so worked out well all around. If you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to hit like button and subscribe for more content. If you're interested in this deck list, it'll be in the description below. Till next time guys, see ya.